Welcome to this episode of the Voynich Manuscript podcast. My name is Finn Hammersley, and today I'm joined by
Jakob.
And today we'll be talking about the Yuba County 5. So, Jacob, it's been a while since you've been on one of these. Have you ever heard of the Yuba County 5?
I have no idea what that even is.
Okay. So, last week, which is an episode you weren't on, and I'm well aware of that, we covered something called the Deltov Pass incident. Which
was that even English?
No, it was Russian.
Makes sense.
It was an incident that occurred in the Deltov Pass in Russia, where, well, my theory and the most commonly given theory is that it was an avalanche that killed about 13 hikers on this thing. But there have been other theories like nuclear testing, military, insurgents, and Yetis. On my document, I literally had in the theory section just like paragraphs of like information on each theory, and then just a single dot point with a one word that said Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And just basically,
you always get tied back to those other cryptids, you
know. But the Yuba County 5 is often called the American Deltov Pass incident. Because it's, in a way...
Sasquatch, let's go!
Actually, Sasquatch doesn't appear in any theories for this.
What the fuck? Sasquatch got snuffed.
Snuff Squatch. But, yeah... But yeah, this one is, like I said, called the American Deltov Pass incident because it involves a group of friends going missing in a very snowy environment and then not being found for months. Basically a very similar story, but the circumstances around it are quite different.
Okay.
So, the Yuba County 5 were all young men from Yuba County, California, in America. All 5 of them had mild intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions, who attended a college basketball game at California State University.
They all had psychiatric conditions?
Yeah. That's kind of how they met.
Oh, and they all happened to be in the basketball team?
Yeah.
Alright, sure.
So this all took place in February of 1978. And basically, after they attended this basketball game, all of them went missing. All 5 of them. And one of them still hasn't been found. Was never found. This was almost 40 years ago. So, almost 50 years ago, actually. So
the old days.
The 5 men were Bill Sterling, who was 29 years old, Jack Hewitt, 24, Ted Weir, who was 32, and Jack Madruga, who was 30 years old, and the 5th man who was never found was Gary Mathis, who was 25. The 5 of them would often play basketball together, and they were all on a team for the mentally handicapped called the Gateway Gators, who were set to participate in a week-long tournament sponsored by the Special Olympics, winners receiving a trip to Los Angeles for a week. So all 5 of them have mental disabilities.
But they came from California, but getting a trip to LA. Isn't that kind of like...
No, they went missing in California.
Oh, okay, alright. I think that feels super hollow. Be like, what the fuck? What are you...
don't actually know where they're from.
We get to
I-
go back near our home for our free. Yeah.
we get a holiday at home. Yay! But yeah, I actually I can't. I was never able to find where they were from. Now that you've mentioned it, but yeah, all these kind of different varieties of mental handicap, from everything from autism to schizophrenia.
No.
Basically, what happened was they went to watch a game that was in this tournament one night, and they were set to come home, and then they'd even laid out their uniforms and everything. They went out, I think it was to the local bar, and were just never seen after that. After the team they went to watch won their game, they went to go to a servo, basically, and to grab snacks and drinks for the way home. And the clerk at the service station was just has basically gone, yeah, I saw them that night. So that was good. That we have at least one thing to figure out where they were.
Yeah,
after this,
it's not completely mysterious. It's just mostly.
Yeah. Because the thing about this is that that service station, however, was in completely the wrong direction from where they were going. So it's they're at point A trying to get to point B, but they ended up at point C, which is like 20 miles away in the wrong direction.
Oh, that's really far away. Jeez.
I think it's 20 miles. Yeah, 20 miles. So something else that happened on this night of the 24th of February was a man named Joe Shones, age 55, was having car trouble, just on the side of the road. It was his car had gone stuck in the snow, and he was pushing himself, trying to push himself out, and he had a mild heart attack.
Okay.
Miles away from help, Shones thought he could flag down a car. He saw a group of men, a woman, and a baby walking together, but they ignored his calls for help. Later, then he basically just went in his car and collapsed because of the heart attack. And through brief flashes of consciousness, he believed he saw flashlights approach his car, and then hours later he basically woke up well, and he felt well enough to walk and to get help. Which, hey, good for him, pushing through a heart attack. Jesus.
Oh, it couldn't have been good for him, but yeah.
No, but it's impressive. That's what it is. So along his way,
I'm sure he was feeling really good about it.
Along the way from heading home, heading to get to help even, Joe Shones passed a 1969 Mercury Montego, which...
I assume it's a car.
It is, yeah.
I like cars.
Which belonged to the Yuba County 5. Shones later came forward with his story when the news broke of their disappearance, making him the last person to be credited to see the 5 alive. Assuming that the group of men, the woman and the baby, were the Yuba County 5.
With a woman and a baby.
With a woman and a baby.
As you do.
I mean, but there is he was having a heart attack. He might have been, I'm not saying seeing things, but misinterpreting what he saw. One of the Yuba County 5, I think it was...
This is a short guy. There's a baby in it, eh?
No, I one of them has long hair, so he could have been misinterpreted as a woman. And
he's sexist, I see.
He was in the middle of the snow during the night time.
there's no excuse for sexism, Finn. And the fact that you would even give one is quite appalling.
Also, like, he could have misinterpreted one of them holding the groceries as like a baby, or one of them holding a baby. That's just something that, in my opinion, could have happened. But yeah, after he'd come after he'd come home, the Mercury, like, after he'd reported it, even, sorry, Jesus, the Mercury Montego was found last where Schoen saw it, and with enough gas for the five to return home.
So it's not as if they ran out of gas or anything.
No, and the car wasn't even like beached in the snow. Like there was no damage dealt to the car.
Okay,
and like these were rugged roads. Like this was through countryside, basically. And none of the five would have been dressed warmly enough to go through the rugged, dense forest that surrounded the area where their car was parked. So basically, they just abandoned their car and just completely left with no supplies, no clothing suited for the environment or anything. Do you have any theories so far before I get on to the next part?
I mean, not really. See, we have that they all had a mental disability, but we don't really have like the extent of them completely. Like, I'm sure if like someone had like pretty extreme schizophrenia or like bipolar or things like that, things can get a bit hairy in those situations of them maybe like getting out of the car and be looking to chase after them. I've experienced that before with some of the people I know. But I don't know anything beyond that kind of thing.
But like, okay, well, one of the family members.
Oh yeah.
It's fun.
No, it's fun. We imagine that the guy who saw them saw everything completely correct.
Oh,
like he made no mistakes. It was completely accurate to what happened. What was, and
it was
at some point picked up a woman and a baby.
Okay. Yeah, the parents of the man with schizophrenia, I can't remember which one it was, said that he was who was the worst of the bunch, apparently. Said that he was very consistent with his medication and that he hadn't been missing any of it, like even on the days where they went missing. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure with that. All right. So later on, several months later, 5 months ish later in June, 5 months ish, the body of Ted Weir was found in a trailer with missing shoes and badly frostbitten feet. The trailer was 19 miles away from the car, and it was in the middle of the dense forest. So, about 5 miles away from that were the remains of Sterling and Madruga. Madruga still had the keys to the Mercury.
Okay.
So, lastly, Hewitt's skeletonized remains were found shortly after.
Wait, what?
The skeleton of Hewitt was found shortly after.
How long after the missing was this?
5 months? February to June, 5 months.
How long does it take to turn into a skeleton?
Not that long. Depending on area.
It was cold. It was snowing. No chance.
Well, it defrosted. It was
February what I mean to June. Is it was a cold time.
Yeah.
It's not as if the decomposition was being accelerated by anything.
So the next strange thing. First of all, like I said earlier, Gary Mathis is still missing. He was never found.
Mhm.
But his tennis shoes were left behind in the trailer with Weir's body. But it's assumed that Mathis had taken Weir's shoes and left his tennis shoes there, because Weir's leather shoes were never found.
Okay, that makes sense. That they switched shoes or something.
Why does that make sense?
For why the shoes aren't there.
Oh, okay. Well, why would they switch shoes? Surely tennis shoes would be better than leather shoes in this. No, actually, never went. What am I talking about?
I mean, maybe. Like, tennis shoes do provide more support for, like, long walks and stuff, which it seems like they were probably doing.
Mm. So, completely more baffling is that Weir in the trailer was emaciated, like completely without food or water. This is odd because the trailer had food and propane, so he could have eaten, and fresh water, so he could have eaten, drank, and stayed warm for at least 8 weeks.
Huh.
So he could have survived there, but when police investigated, they found that only a couple of the cans had been opened. Oh, sorry, Weir had lived for at least 8 weeks after his disappearance, given his beard growth on his body.
Oh, shit. So in
and-
that, the trailer, he was there for 8 weeks?
Yep, and he didn't eat any of the food, didn't drink any of the water, and didn't use any of the propane to heat it.
How did he stay alive for 8 weeks?
Look, it's a mystery for a reason, Jacob.
You make a fine point.
They figured out he was alive for at least 8 weeks after his disappearance due to the beard growth and hair growth on his body. Also strange, no one had covered the window they had smashed in to get inside of the trailer. So, during the snowy winter, a smashed open window with no heat, without using any heat, water, or food.
How? Is the question.
Very much is. And then 5 miles away, the bodies of two of the other men. And then I actually can't find how far away the skeleton of Hewitt was found. And then one of them missing. This is, like I said, just a completely strange and baffling case.
Okay.
So, before I get onto like the theories of the people, do you have any ideas?
So, facts so far.
And if you say Soviets again, I might go to your house and punch you.
No, it wouldn't be Soviets time.
It is in the middle of the Cold War, though.
Let's see. There's the facts. So there's... How many people was it again?
5.
5? 5.
Yeah. 4 of them were found dead, and 1 of them still missing.
We know that one of them, at least one of them, broke into a trailer.
Yep. Like a caravan.
Yeah. Okay. And they lived for 8 weeks.
8 weeks, yeah.
There was also a man that was currently having a heart attack at the time that saw supposedly them with a woman and a baby.
Yep.
Okay.
I feel like you're just sitting at your computer, and behind you is a corkboard slowly filling with bits of information and red yarn.
I'm actually running on a whiteboard.
You are?
Yeah.
Good, good. This is exactly what I wanted.
5 people, 4 found. One found in a caravan that was living there for 8 weeks. A male heart attack found found them with a woman and a baby. Have we seen anything else? Oh, they switched shoes.
Yeah, they switched shoes. Just a bit more information. The 2 that were found that weren't skeletons were found by a river.
Okay.
And I still can't find where the skeleton was found. So.
Okay.
And one of the ones found by the river still had the keys to the Mercury.
Okay. So, and then the one found. So there's one found in the caravan, one that's found as a skeleton, and 2 that were found by the river.
Mm-hmm.
Which counts for 4. All right, cool. I don't know. This is more. I don't know, a bit hard to speculate on because it feels weird going so wild with it, considering it's real people. But
all of these have been about real people, Jacob.
You're right. Sorry, the fucking. I was gonna say man bear.
Man bear pig from South Park.
Yeah, it's the man bear pig. Yeah, fucking Mothman. Yeah, real people.
There were real people in that story. I've posted in the Discord a 1969 Mercury Montego, just so you know what it looks like.
Sure.
It's a nice car, actually, in my opinion.
Damn. Actually, there's nothing for this. Like it. The easiest way to think of it is that there was some kind of squabble that was happening between the group. For some particular reason, they each or individually felt like they needed to move them from the situation they were in. Whether that's because someone was having some kind of break and they were people were removing themselves from that situation, or if more crazy things, a third party joined the situation, forcing them out of their car, and they decided to leave behind because heavy snowfall. Might as well not getting far in that. So they decided to leave and go and go and go.
All right.
And then one of them decided to split off and ended up in the caravan. 2 of them went by the river, and one of them we don't know. Oh, and
interesting.
Somehow became a skeleton. I assume cannibalized.
Well, my assumption for the skeleton is something I think I've actually brought up before on the podcast. Have you ever, you know, like cow mutilation or cattle mutilation?
Yeah, how you string out all the blood and stuff, and like.
Yeah, and how insects kind of go for the squishy parts first.
Yeah.
Eyes, tongue, anus.
You think he was a very squishy person?
Sorry?
You think he was a very squishy person?
Well, no, what I'm saying is I just reckon animals got to him. That's all. I reckon he died and animals got to him.
Yeah.
It's boring, but I reckon it's what's happened.
No, that makes sense. But they should be able to tell that kind of thing by like bite marks and stuff, wouldn't they?
If they did, it wasn't in the report I read. So
I mean, it is 50 years ago. People back then were barely using cars. They just were still using horse-drawn carriages. So, yeah, I don't know how much they know.
Fuck up. All right. So let me go over some of the things I've got for what other people think. So authorities would later discover that a snowcat vehicle had pushed snow aside to cut a path towards the trailer on February 23rd, which may have given the men some hope that they were in an area where the Forest Service employees might return soon. There was also a theory that Mathis convinced the group to head towards a place called Forbeston, an area between Chico, which is where their basketball game was, and the mountain road, so he could visit a friend who lived there. It was possible that Madruga had missed the turnoff and simply gotten lost, driving deeper into darkness until snow ground the Mercury to a halt. The men panicking may have believed that their car was stuck and that they needed to get help.
That sounds like a very reasonable theory.
It is a very reasonable theory. But some of
They didn't really have a
the
GPS or anything, and it was heavy. It was heavy snow, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That they probably got just caught out there, and they had left the car thinking it was the right thing to do to go find help or something because they didn't want to get fucking bogged into the snow and die inside the car.
The other yeah, it's perfectly reasonable, really. The other prevailing theory, however, is that police and the families of the victims never really ruled out foul play. Melba Madruga, Jack Madruga's mother, told the Washington Post that she believed that some force had led the group astray. She is quoted in saying, "We know good and well, sometimes somebody made them do it," she said to the Los Angeles Times. She said it was impossible for her to believe Madruga would ever drive his car, which he prized, into an area that it might get damaged. He had left a window rolled down, something he would never normally do. She also said, "I'm positive he never went up there on his own," she told the paper. "He was either tricked or threatened." Ted Weir's sister-in-law theorized that the men may have seen something take place at the basketball game that prompted them to chase whatever happened. Police were never able to establish evidence for pursuit, but no one could shake the idea that the men seemed to be determined to move forward. Why else would why do that unless something more frightening was right behind them?
Do we have any info on how the games went? Like anything happening over there?
The only thing I really found was that the team that they supported won, but that's all I found.
Okay. I mean, the idea of I don't know, taking like family's testimony in these things always feels super iffy. Because, it's always the common thing when their child does something crazy. It's like, my child would never do that. So it's very hard to believe anything like that. Yeah, so I think that might just be her wishful thinking. And he might not even be the one that left the window open. Probably a different person in the car.
Yeah, but he was the one who was driving, though. Just not saying one way.
Where was the window that was open in the car?
I don't know, but assuming
unless it's the driver's seat, then he might have just not known.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's the driver's seat with what they've said, so that's just an assumption.
I mean, if it's not the driver's seat, then he might have just not known. I don't know.
Yeah,
and they say that he wouldn't go out into something dangerous, but what if he didn't know it was dangerous? Or thought that it would be fine.
Yeah. But
people overestimate themselves all the time.
But I mean, in all fairness, it was heavy snow and going into a forest that they weren't familiar with, so it's not that difficult to believe that that they could like that quote, he was either tricked or threatened. I don't believe that there was a third party, but if assuming there was, I don't find that too difficult to believe.
A third party is a very neat and nice excuse for what could have probably just been an event of probably was a situation that went from problem to problem to problem, where they tried to solve it but created new problems by trying to solve it this way. Yeah. The other thing is the man who got caught that was in the caravan for 8 weeks.
Yep.
Did the snow stop at the point then? Were they able to be free?
Well, I don't know, but 8 weeks from February.
8 weeks is a long ass time. That's going into pretty. That would go into spring. Yeah, that'd go heavily into spring. The snow would not be around for that long, would it?
I mean,
so I can't help but imagine. I can't help but imagine that. that might have been a weird choice thing.
Mm.
Because I was sure they were having the best life at homes and stuff, and everything was all good in life.
There's nothing to say they weren't, so...
So, because you only really physically get in that situation by choice. Or, again, police aren't always the best, you know? Maybe he just grows facial hair quickly, and he was there for like a couple of days.
I mean, 8 weeks of beard growth, I don't think...
It's no joke, it's a lot of beard growth, I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I can trust like the policing of the people here. They're like, oh, there's no way, this couldn't be.
Okay, sorry, I've just... it's just occurred to me, I never actually looked into the cause of death for any of these people, because I'm clever like that. So...
Pause the episode, cut this little bit out, and then find that out.
Oh, I'm on the thing right now. I just quickly reading it. So the two that were found next to the river were both died of hypothermia.
Checks out.
Yeah.
Especially if they tried to cross that river, that would have destroyed them.
Oh shit! The one that was skeletonized was also hypothermia, but shitting out. 2 days. Let me read this verbatim. 2 days later, as part of one of the other search parties, Jack Hewitt's father found his son's backbone under a manzantia bush 2 miles northeast of the trailer. His shoes and jeans nearby helped identify the body. The next day, a deputy sheriff found a skull downhill from the bush, confirming by
it wasn't together. I was imagining it together in an area.
That's
spread apart.
That makes me go tingly. But I can't seem to find anything about Weir's death in the trailer.
Oh, there's evidence. No like
the subcategory evidence in trailer should really tell me. Oh, okay. This is completely different. Well, not completely different, obviously, but the autopsy shows that he died of a combination of starvation and hypothermia. Weir had lost nearly half of his body weight. The growth in his beard suggests he had lived as long as 13 weeks from when he last shaved.
Okay, as long as, therefore, it can be around.
His feet were badly frostbitten, almost gangrenous. On a table next to the bed were some of Weir's personal effects, including a wallet with cash, a nickel ring with Ted engraved on it, a gold necklace he also wore. Also on the table was a gold watch without its crystal, which the Weir family said was not his, and a partially melted candle. He was wearing a velour shirt and lightweight pants, but his shoes could not be found. So, Jesus. Half his body weight. He was 91 kilos and went down to 45.
Shit. Okay, he was just straight up starving in there. Well, I mean, he sustained himself. So he was eating some small thing.
A dozen of sea ration cans from a storage shed outside had been opened and their contents consumed. But a locker in the same shed that held an even greater assortment of dehydrated food, enough to keep all 5 men fed for a year, if that had been necessary, had not been opened.
That makes you, again, hey, it's always a weird thing getting into the cyber, but the cannibalism is always a fun path to go down, isn't it?
It's a fun path, but I don't think it's the correct path in this.
What was he eating? It was either
sea rations.
What do you mean sea rations?
Army rations.
Oh, I thought he didn't eat any of the supplies.
No, there's a dozen eaten cans of sea rations.
Only a dozen?
Only a dozen.
I guess that would explain the weight loss if you just ration them out majorly.
Jesus. Like, oh, here's I've just found an image of.
Oh,
No, it's of Gary Mathis, the one that was never found when he was alive.
okay, all right. This makes
Uh,
this.
Yeah, that's him.
Just not a flattering picture.
It
It's just
really isn't.
it's like him staring down the barrel, like that the camera is like his hair completely greasy and blocked out, his these big thick glasses on, this short mustache that just covers his lips a slight amount, with a bit more of a thin face. It's very black
Got a
and
picture
white
of all
and
5 of them.
grainy.
Got a picture of all 5 of them.
Jeez. Regular beetles. Amazing. They were definitely from 50 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. Jesus.
Yeah, I got nothing. This is weird. This is different.
I know, like,
There's so many different things going on. There's not. If it was like one, then maybe you could speculate more. Because all these things are separate. Like the main thing is the 8 weeks. The other two, whatever. All right, 2 died of hypothermia while they trying to
3
trying to
died
cross
of
a river.
hypothermia.
No, I mean, 2 died of hypothermia. They were trying at a river or trying to cross it or something because they were trying to get back to civilization or whatever to get help. That is a very easy explanation away. One of them also died of hypothermia, but got tripped up at some point, and maybe they were I don't know. I guess they died, and then were eaten, and that's why the things were scattered around. But I don't see why it wouldn't include any kind of animal interaction with the body. I feel like that'd be a thing to write down. But the one in the caravan, that has to be an active choice, right?
It's. I really wish it's like the articles and pages I read about this actually said what mental handicap these people had.
It would be useful.
It really would. But
it was also 50 years ago. It's not as if they had a very good standard for that kind of thing anyway.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Gary Mathis, the one who disappeared, was in the was stationed in West Germany as in the United States Army in the early 70s, where he was discharged after being diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Okay. I mean, that might explain. He might have just been got way further away. If it was still heavily snowing, then it's not crazy to believe that they would split up. And the cold is no joke. It's one of the most terrifying and deliberating things in living. It's one of the harshest environments to try to do anything in, especially during such a heavy snowstorm that they can't see in front of them. They can barely see each other, and they probably can't hear each other. It's so loud. Like, it's them getting lost along the way, or them not noticing that someone left, is so easy to do. I don't know. I like the. I feel like not like this is all very bad, but the idea that they somehow split up without realizing it, or that they gradually started falling off one by one, but they kept trying and trying to get back to somewhere that they could. So 2 of them were able to stick together. One of them was able to pursue by themselves. The one found the caravan, kind of hit the jackpot there, but then made an active choice to stay there for whatever reason.
I actually just thought of something that might. This is a bit of a out there theory, and you have to make a fair few assumptions.
And then one got way further away to the point where they could not be found. That means they pursued so far into whatever the forest or anything that they couldn't be seen.
Yeah, I just thought of a bit of an out there for you. Like I said, you might need a few assumptions to make it believable. But okay, so imagine if both Mathis and Weir found their way to the caravan. At this point, Weir already has frostbite on his feet. Mathis kind of just lays him down and gets him enough supplies for like a week. Because at this point, Weir can't move.
He can't move, yeah. And then says, "Hey, I'm going to go out for help."
Yeah, it goes maybe even just to find the others, even if it's just that, and just leaves him. Mathis then gets so incredibly lost that he's never found again, and then the other three just never find the caravan.
That would explain a decent amount. And if he can't move, like, and he's fucked in that state, then there's no way of him getting himself out of that.
Granted,
what is he going to do?
Doesn't explain though why the fire wasn't lit.
Well, maybe he just didn't check through that well. He can't move around, and he wouldn't be able to get to those areas. And again, depending on how deliberate, on how what the extent of his disability is, then he might not even occurred to look for that kind of thing.
This is a real head scratcher, this one.
This is like a decent mystery, though. Because it's a very good explanation of it's just an endless night. They're trying their best to get through, but being beaten down by layers and layers of snow, and their mental fortitude being destroyed by the withering cold. What are they going to really do? If they get split up, which it seems like they did, I liked your theory of them finding the caravan and then inside. They made the hard but probably misguided choice of leaving to go find others, because if you have been through these kind of, like, had people explain to you what to do in these situations, but it is almost always stay put. And this is why, because it's so easy to get lost. And if you do, then your body might never be found.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's...
Is there anything else?
No, there isn't. At least not that I can think of. Or find.
Because I don't believe the man's mother that he would never do that. That's a very big wishful thinking of a mother onto their child, hoping that they wouldn't do a certain thing. But come on, you can't really know what your child is willing to do. I'm sure many murderers and the mothers of murderers say my child would never.
Yeah, especially like this. Especially if this child is what? How old would it have been? This was
20-something.
This was Madruga's, so 30. Your 30-year-old son.
They were 30.
Actually, but Gary Mathis, the one that went missing, was the youngest, second youngest at 25.
Yeah, she cannot know.
Yeah. Well, unless you have anything else, that's this week's episode.
Damn, that is... Huh.
It's a bit of a morbid place to leave it.
It's really inconclusive.
Yeah, it's... Audience at home, if you have any theories, I really want to hear them. Just get in the comments, email me, DM me on Twitter, all the normal ways you'd interact with a content creator. So I really want to know what you guys think at home. And I'm sure Jacob does as well.
Some insight, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I guess that's been this week's episode of the Voynich Manuscript podcast. I've been Finn Hammersley.
I have been Jacob.
See you next week. Bye.
Goodbye.